Howdy howdy, welcome to 108 Gates, where we are starting off with the Divine Feminine reading first. Before that, just an acknowledgement that there are end of 2023 readings, each in their own zodiac sign. And so check those out, because there was one that popped up in my feed this morning, and looking at what we've been talking about with the alignments, and that's what's happening out there. It was quite relevant, and I think that was done more than 6 weeks ago. So like I said, sometimes if you just look through that playlist or a few playlists and see what's coming up, it might be surprising what's actually being heard now and how it differs to when we heard it initially. But yeah, here we go. Peace. I'm doing the reading slightly later in the day than what I'm normally doing it. And the reason was there was a distinct need for calming. The energy of the reading felt like it was frantic, so I thought just step off, keep back until it actually is ready to be read, if that makes sense. And now as we're coming in, we've got peace, and it's the underestimating the value of peace, it's underestimating the impact of peace. And sometimes we are going to be, or have to, or have had to do some things, or have to do some things, or are going to be doing some things to maintain a certain level of peace, which isn't going to be understood by all, and it's not going to be just straightforward and easy to do on some level. But on another level, when we know why we're doing it and that we have to do it, for our own inner calm, for our healing process, for our moving on process, then we're understanding and with compassion for ourselves of what the peace actually is beginning to feel like, what it's actually beginning to bring in. So as the peace is coming in, another interesting point about the compassion was, if we're over compassionate, it sounds really weird and wrong, but this is what I'm talking about with the peace. If we're being over compassionate with some people, that yes, they deserve some compassion, yes, they need some compassion, but when we are overloading with the compassion for them and we get lost in taking care of ourselves, that also felt really strong for this particular reading today. So having the confidence to make the choices, to do things in the way that you need to, how you need to, for the reasons you need to. And in that, you may not necessarily want to or have to explain your choices to others. They may behave as though what you've done or what you're doing or what you're saying is incorrect. It's like that's on them. What you need to do for yourself, how you need to do it, is what is required now from you, for you, to take you to another level. And looking at the chart today, I did notice, for some reason, I was drawn to, where's it gone? Drawn to, Pluto in Capricorn at 28 degrees. It's really coming to that edge of Capricorn now, and it's not one of those faster planets, so it's gonna be intensified as it comes to the end decan of Capricorn. Well, it's in the last decan of Capricorn, but now it's coming to the end of it. Okay, right, everything seems to be slowing down for the purpose of being observed correctly. So I know it's been coming up in a few readings, like slow right down, feel into what's actually happening, feel into why things are happening in a particular way, and then we can proceed from there. So now with this Ten of Swords there's certain wounds coming up, and it's kind of it's a double-edged sword, which is a weird thing to say because that's anyway. A part of it is acknowledging that you've been through some tribulations and trials and difficulties and things like that, and you've mastered them on a certain level. But the main thing right now is, what have you learnt from it? So what have you learnt from those battles you found yourself in the midst of? And then where have you now come to the peace from that? How have you got to the peace from that? Have you got to peace from that? Or are you still holding on to some of the shock? Are you still holding on to some of the grief which needs to be processed? Are you holding on to are you feeling some of those things still around? Are you feeling that you're still edgy about certain things? Are you still feeling unsafe or insecure about certain things? This is really going to be addressed at this time, because we really want to be getting the full value from our experiences. And that sounds a really callous and unfelt kind of way of putting it, but it's about making sure that we've utilised that experience to our fullest potential. Because if not, then what was it for? And this is not about everything being a test. It's nothing to do with it being a test, so to speak. It's more to do with you experience something, you've gone through something. Have you now? What have you utilised from it? What have you learnt from it? What have you gained from it in terms of connecting with yourself? And this is not saying that it's happened for you as a test. It's just saying that it's happened, therefore, how have you utilised it? It's not the notion that we're being tested and this, that and the other. Nothing to do with that. I'm not necessarily in that frame of mind. I don't really want to go in that space. I'm not going to have that conversation right now. It's a different conversation. But this is feeling like you've gone through all those things. Are you feeling peaceful? And those little nuggets of peace, are you letting them radiate out into other areas too? Where is your confidence grown from this task, from this battle, from this fight, from this expansion, from this whatever it was that put you through a certain level of discomfort, that put you through a certain level of being hypersensitive, hyper alert? It may have been 5 years, it may have been 20 years, it may have been 30 years, it may have been 2 years, but the intensity of it is quite something. So resignation, say goodbye to what you no longer need, acknowledging here that there's some things that are done. They're done and they're done. We don't need to be carrying it through. Having that faith and trust in yourself that you've actually learned something from it. You've gained something useful from it. You've gained something of value from it. Therefore, you are safe to move on from it. You don't have to keep looking over your shoulder. You don't have to keep looking into falling into another booby trap or a trap that was similar to what you've just got yourself out of. That can only come from yourself. That can only come from when you have had that confident and that honest conversation with yourself, because only you will truly know how you feel about it. If you're still feeling wobbly, or you're still feeling a little scared or apprehensive about it, then it is up to you to acknowledge that. If someone, this is the big point of it, if someone comes to you and says, that was ages ago, you should be over it by now, not to listen to that. Listen to yourself. Excuse me, if you're not feeling safe, if you're not feeling secure for whatever reason, there's still something there that needs to be either processed or that you need to put into place to make sure that you're feeling safe and that you are feeling secure, genuinely, sincerely. Why this is so strong in this area, I'm not quite sure. From there, then you are able to properly say goodbye to those little things that you didn't want, or those big things that you no longer need, and then come into another level of enthusiasm, another level of being enthusiastic in your life with positive things. So let's see where we're going with that. That's quite a heavy vibe. Sorry, not sorry, because I've got to just say what's coming up. Doesn't mean everyone's going through it. It just means this is the message right now, or it comes at different times. So Four of Swords, again, the energy of after your battle, after your task, after whatever it is, then the process of saying bye to things that you don't need, even that alone can be a source of discomfort, a source of disturbance on some level, a source of difficulty. Just to have to admit that this is done, this is over, and we've got to just move on from it. Or you're simply just finding ways of jumping over the hurdles. You can get on with the rest of the things that you need to do. So the enthusiasm comes from when you've taken the rest. You've taken that time to sit and realise that, you know what, I've actually done quite well here. I've got out the situation. I've come out on some level, for some people, alive. I've come out with my limbs intact, with my senses intact, hopefully. Just saying, sending love to anyone that's not got through certain situations in the most easiest of ways. Therefore, Four of Swords, resting, Five of Wands. There is going to be some inner turmoil, inner wrestling that happens through this. It could be that someone could even be like making you doubt yourself, like that thing of like, you should be over this by now. Well, you know what, I'm not, so therefore back off and just give me some time to just deal with it where I need to deal with it. Four of Coins, again, making sure that we're looking at what we have got, what we have gained, where we have grown, where we have sustained ourselves. And it's not even about oh, I have now achieved this amount and I have achieved that and I have that tick and I've done this now tick. It's literally being able to come back, and the massive part being I'm finding peace in my heart again. I'm finding peace in my mind again. I'm finding peace in my heart and mind like I've never felt before. The value of that, to make sure we're acknowledging it, making sure we are showing it and appreciating it in awareness of how precious that is. Peace is not something that just comes. You can't buy peace. You can't transfer peace, so to speak. You've got to find it within yourself. It's not a simple thing to acquire. And when you do acquire it, protect it, look after it, appreciate it. And then from this space, you're going to start seeing more evidence of where you want to go towards, where you don't want to go towards. Again, this is coming in as energy of possible flashbacks, possible images, possible remnants of certain things happening. So you might have got rid of a certain situation or come out of a certain situation, and something comes up that's looking similar, and it's poking certain things, it's provoking certain things. Remembering to come into that steady space, come into that peaceful space, bring up your confidence. I can deal with this. If I don't know how to deal with it, I will be open heart, open minded to receive the solutions, receive the correct way forward through this situation. With a steady heart, with a steady mind, peace in my heart, love in my mind. How do I deal with this? Being open to that, being aware of that, being ready for that. And this is why when it's coming in with Ten of Swords, the fight isn't necessarily an aggressive step forward. The fight sometimes is just to make sure that your peace is protected, to make sure the harmony within yourself is protected. That, as a fight on its own, is very different to having to defend self and combat something. On some level, it's combating the negatives that were around you before, the low vibe outcomes that were impeding themselves and encroaching on you before. Having been free of that now, getting free of that, being free of that, getting yourself to a point where you can be free of that more and more and more. That's the vibe of this right now. Remembering to rest. Remembering as you rest, there may be certain things that come up. You wrestle with them, but you also be open to soothing yourself, remembering, holding on to, not grasping, but keeping in the back of your mind, keeping in your heart the remembrance of peace, feeling of peace. How does it feel to feel peaceful? Remembering that, keeping that as your island, and remembering how much you've gained from this and how much you can gain from this. Don't always have the answers in the instant moment, but to keep the peace flowing is going to be important. So for now, there's Divine Feminine reading for today. Upload this and go on to the Divine Masculine. And like I said, there's end of 2023 and your monthly readings up. So you might want to check those out. For now, peace and love.